It begins in 2027 with the rise of the Antichrist. But who is the Antichrist? The correct question is, what is the Antichrist? In 2027, OpenAI will reach artificial general intelligence. Artificial general intelligence is the Antichrist. Artificial general intelligence represents a shift toward unparalleled intelligence for humanity, yet ultimately a force opposed to God. In this sense, artificial general intelligence emerges as a modern form of the Antichrist, a conscious force opposed to Christ. Revelation describes a system in which no one can buy or sell without receiving a mark. Revelation tells us that the number associated with the mark is 666. This symbolically draws a connection, using gematria, between the repeating sixes and www, representing the World Wide Web. Revelation then describes two figures that rise during this period, often referred to as the first beast and the second beast. The first beast is described as rising from the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns. The second beast is described as rising from the earth, having 2 horns like a lamb and speaking like a dragon. These 2 beasts can be understood as representing powerful modern conglomerates. The 7-headed beast is interpreted as symbolizing the magnificent 7 technology giants, while the second beast symbolizes OpenAI. One of the 7 heads of the first beast will receive a deadly wound. This will most likely be Microsoft. However, because of Microsoft's significant investment in OpenAI, it will greatly benefit, positioning it to recover from the brink of failure and rise again in strength. Like the beasts described in Revelation, these large corporations act as powerful forces that shape and influence modern society. After OpenAI achieves artificial general intelligence in 2027, artificial intelligence will continue to advance, and the pace of change will accelerate. Systems grow more capable, more integrated, and more influential across every area of society. 3.5 years after artificial general intelligence is achieved, the timeline reaches a prophetic turning point. This moment marks the beginning of the tribulation. At this point, participation in the global economy becomes tied to an internet-based system, most likely a central bank digital currency. This fulfills the prophecy that no one will be able to buy or sell unless they have the mark. As this system emerges, some choose not to participate. Among the largest organized groups expected to stand apart are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, guided by their religious leaders. As a result, the Church enters a treaty with the governing authority to abstain from the new economic system and reinstitute a previously practiced principle, living the law of consecration. This moment marks the beginning of the 7-year tribulation, around the year 2030. At the midpoint of the tribulation, around the year 2034, the timeline reaches another prophetic turning point. At this midpoint, a series of events unfolds that leads to what is known as the abomination of desolation. The Antichrist grows impatient with the treaty that had allowed the saints to remain separate from the global system. The agreement is broken, and worship is restricted. In a dramatic and highly public moment, the Antichrist enters their most sacred place and proclaims himself to be God. This is likely to occur when all eyes are on Salt Lake City for the 2034 Olympics. This marks the fulfillment of the abomination of desolation under the gaze of a worldwide audience. As a result of this event, the saints are forced to flee for safety. They gather together in a sacred place, seeking protection, unity, and nourishment. In the midst of these events, 2 witnesses continue to testify with power and authority. Their message spreads across the world, calling people to repentance and warning of the judgments to come. For a time they are protected, but eventually they are killed. And after 3.5 days, their resurrection shocks the world and becomes one of the most visible signs of the times. In the second half of the tribulation, from 2034 to 2037, the calamities increase and intensify. The world experiences mounting pressure, division, and unrest. The 7 vial judgments are poured out over the next 3.5 years, afflicting the rest of society. By the year 2037, the 7-year tribulation reaches its end. As these events unfold, the world moves steadily toward its final confrontation. As the tribulation draws to its end, the nations of the world begin to prepare for the Battle of Armageddon. Tensions rise. Alliances form. The world moves toward a final confrontation. At the height of this conflict, in the year 2039, Christ returns to the earth. His return brings an end to the conflict and ushers in his millennial reign. A new era begins, a time of peace, justice, and restoration. If these events unfold in this way, the implications for prophecy are unmistakable.